What's up, everybody? We got muted here. Sorry, we're on vacation, so things are a little different, as you can tell. A little custom setup going on right here, but welcome everybody to our Week 15 episode of Roughing the Passer. As always, my name is DH, and with me is the man himself, Mr. Newman. How's it going, my man?
Good. Who's not on vacation and looking out the window at snow?
Do what?
I'm looking out the window to snow falling.
Nice. Yeah, it's about 60s or so here at night, so that's the one part I'm enjoying right now. Went and saw the Trans-Siberian Orchestra today. It was a good day so far. Yeah. But welcome
We're
everybody.
just in Siberia here in New York, so there's no orchestra, it's just Siberia.
I hear you, man. Well, once again, guys, thanks so much for joining us as always. And as I said, I am on vacation, but my goodness, I have been able to take a look at a couple things, and I will tell you, it looks like it has been absolutely one wild and crazy week of football. As I'm going to pull up the scores here real quick, and we will take a look at it. So, Mr. Newman, what are some games that caught your eye today? We'll start off running down the list, I guess, here with Jets and the Ravens. Ravens beating them 42-21. You've got the Packers over the Bears 21-13. The Patriots over the Bengals 34-13. Started out slow, but Brady made his move as always. The Sea Chickens, unfortunately, took care of my Panthers 30-24. The Texans and the Titans in the game that I actually cared about. 24-21 Texas. Giants beating the Dolphins 36-20. Chiefs taking down the Broncos 23-3. Eagles beating the Redskins by 10, 37-27. And you've got the Bucks 38-17 over the Lions. 38-24 Cardinals over the Browns. Vikings handled the Chargers easily 39-10. Jags over the Raiders in a shocker to me 20-16. And man, how about them Cowboys? Oh God, I sound like Skip Bayless, but 44-21 over the Rams. Then you got the Falcons taking care of the 49ers, and it looks like Durkee's funeral for the 49ers is probably going to come true. So there's your Sunday slate of games, guys. But wild week, man. Wild week of football.
Yeah, a lot of surprises there. I mean, Cleveland losing the way they did to Arizona, giving up 38 points.
Yeah.
San Fran's trying to secure number one seed, and they lose to Atlanta. It looks like Dan Quinn. There's a chance Dan Quinn might be back on the sidelines next year.
That's so absolutely absurd to me.
And the Dallas game, which I watched that one, like, where did that come from? I guess my question there to everybody really is are the Rams that bad, or has Dallas just been founded this week? Because that was brutal.
And that's actually where I want to start first is with what you just said. Is Dallas that good, or are the Rams that bad?
And, I don't know. I mean,
well, I mean, if you're
you got the. Go ahead.
I mean, if you're looking at me, Dallas was due for a game like this. Dallas was due for something along these lines, and I've been saying it for a while now that I thought that the Rams had some serious issues going on right now. I did not like the way their schedule led into everything. This week, I expected them, if they were going to do anything, I think I said it on Thursday, if they were going to do anything, it had to be this game. Otherwise, I had a lot of questions coming out of it. And the beating that they took today, I mean, I've got to go with it that the Rams are that bad. And I'm looking at it at two. I'm looking at it really from twofold. I'm looking at it as Sean McVay is really, he can't keep getting a pass. Like, look, I understand you went to the Super Bowl last year. You hadn't been around that long. That's gravy. That's wonderful. But you've got to be able to handle this when teams make adjustments. And what I see this year is a coach that once he gets once he gets behind, once teams have him figured out, he's terrible at adjusting. Terrible at making halftime adjustments or even putting personnel and packages out there that I think would work. I look at his game plan, I look at the stats all the time, and they never make sense to me. I think one of the big problems is Sean McVay, honestly, is not the genius guru coach we all thought he was. He's not the next Bill Belichick. He could be maybe down the line, but he sure as hell isn't it right now. And then the other thing I take from it is Goff. I mean, you posted it in our Roughing the Passer page earlier today. Best meme possible. That Goff is a train wreck.
Yeah, I don't know. They're locked in with him, and that roller coaster, that bar's come down. They're on that ride for a while, So they better hope it's not really a roller coaster with that many ups and downs, because that bar's not coming up. That bar's that money they locked into them, and it was about the defense. I mean, at one point, this is one of the best defenses in the National Football League, and you just gave up 40 points to Dallas. And I watched the game. I didn't see. You rarely heard Aaron Donald's name mentioned. I know he was getting double teamed. They did a lot of other plays. They made this trade for Jalen Ramsey that's supposed to answer their back end problems, or at least help it out. They're worse with Jalen Ramsey than they were before they traded for him.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing? What are you doing? I know Wade Phillips is viewed as a defensive mastermind. Maybe he moves off his roles. I mean, he's not a spring chicken. Maybe people, we talk about Sean McVay, maybe people figured out Wade Phillips' play calling on the defensive side of the ball and exposing that. I mean, here they are. They're fighting for a playoff spot. They're on the outside looking in, and that's the performance you come up with. That's embarrassing. Here's losing, and then that's embarrassing. If I'm a Rams fan, I feel terrible. I feel worse after the game, obviously, than before. And I think it's very clear they're probably not getting in. Even if they do, they ain't lasting very long.
No. If they get in, and I really don't think they end up getting in now, but if by some miracle chance they get into the postseason, I don't see them lasting. And like you said, I mentioned McVay and Goff, but you just talked about the defense. You add in Jalen Ramsey, and you can't lock down a number one wide receiver. To me, that scheme. You had enough talent to do that before he was on the team. I don't know if adding him, I don't know if it's his personality. I don't know if maybe they promised him, no matter what, we'll put you out on an island and give you Ramsey Island and do what you want. I don't know what it is that's caused this defense to become such a mess, but it's far from just run defense or anything like that, or quarterback pressure. It's everything. And this is one of the biggest surprises of the year to me. I did not think the Rams were going to be as good as they were, but this is a pretty big surprise to me.
Yeah, we did our preview show on Thursday. I picked the Rams, and getting a point or whatever it was, or pick them, and I jumped at it. And I guess I just keep putting faith in them, and I guess I'm the idiot because they're proving me to be one. I'm definitely off. Not that I was super on it, but I'm off the Rams. I don't know what they do there. You can't get off of Goff. No one's going to take the contract in the trade, so you're stuck there. Apparently they don't believe it early because they really don't. They don't commit to them. So who's the running back? And now the defense is playing bad. And Cooper Kupp went from budding superstar to just average wide receiver. Everything is regressed. What do you point to? If you're a Rams fan right now, what do you hang your hat on? What do you say? All right, we're very good here. Let's build around that. Because you don't have, I don't know what it is. You had some of that prior. Those days seem to be in rearview mirror. So I don't know what positives you start with. It's not Goff. It's not the defense now. And the wide receiver core, some of that's probably on off, but they haven't stepped up. And you get a running back sort of by committee with no one even looking particularly great in their own right. So there you go.
Yeah, it's like you said, they've regressed all around. It's odd. I don't get it fully. I expected it a little bit, but I definitely didn't expect it to this ridiculous magnitude, if you will. But definitely, what's that?
Yeah, and look at the two coaches.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
McVay was, like you said, supposed to be the next biggest thing in the coaching ranks.
I mean, yeah.
And Wade Phillips is the greatest, old early veteran. These guys are both the ball taken to the woodshed. So
I know.
I don't know what's going on.
I know. I couldn't tell you honestly. It's baffling to me. And like I said, it's one of the teams that I expected some regression, but not like this. But moving on to the other team from here. And guys, by the way, I just posted it right here. As always, please call in. You simply click the link below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the games today, any fantasy, anything that you've got going on. If your team whoops some ass today, if you're a Cowboy fan and you just want to call in and rag on the Rams for a couple minutes, hit that number and call on in. We'd love to have you on the show. But John, we talked about the Rams for a little bit, but I think we need to go back to the the first half of this question. Is Dallas really this good?
I think I'll answer my own question. I think it's a little bit of both. I guess I really overvalued the Rams. I knew they were struggling. I just thought they'd come out of this funk. Apparently, it's more than a funk.
Yeah.
And I guess with Dallas, they're just not as bad as they've been playing the last 5 or 6 games. And, people have said, listen, you've heard this too, Drew. People have said Dallas has one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. It's a coaching problem, which is why Jason Garrett's on the hot seat. So maybe for a week the coaching staff showed up or figured something out. Because I don't think they're a bad team roster wise. It's been the coaching that's been where the finger pointing has went. Today, apparently, McVay and Wade Phillips stunk it up, and Jason Garrett and Kellen Moore and the rest of that crew didn't. And so I guess the best coaching, you got 2 struggling teams. I guess the best coaching performance got it done today. And that shockingly to me anyway, that was Dallas.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. I really hope it's not the Cowboys trying to play for Jason Garrett's job, even though I still think Jason Garrett's gone unless they make a pretty decent run in the playoffs. Say they make it. They are going to have to go. They'd have to make a pretty deep run if I'm Jason Garrett, if I'm Jerry Jones hiring Jason Garrett because of the names that have a chance to be out there with him. But this was a game that just shocked me. Now, Dallas may be winning the game, not so much. I mean, I could see either one of these teams. They're so hot and cold all the time. Either of these teams could have easily won this game. But when you show me the score of 44-21, I mean, that's just an absolute drubbing and one that I just did not see coming. And one, like we said, a lot of playoff implications and a lot of games this week. And this is one of them right here. This game right here could have massive, massive implications for not only the Cowboys and Rams, but also the Eagles, lots of teams. And so I was blown away by the score and this game in general. But I wanted to move on now while we're on the NFC. I wanted to talk about one other game. And Durkee, if you're watching, I know you're going to like this part. But that, of course, is the 49ers and the Falcons game. Falcons with absolutely nothing left to play for in the world, it seems like. They seem to want to just be playing spoiler these days, or maybe they really just love Dan Quinn that much. But 29-22 over the 49ers. When you take a look at that game like that, like a game like this, what do you make of the 49ers after today?
Another team, then now listen, their record is still very good. Everyone can have a bad week.
Of course.
Maybe that's what it is. I watched a bunch of the football shows yesterday, Saturday, and a lot of them, the talking heads on them were asked to predict their Super Bowl teams right now, and obviously a majority of them took Baltimore in the AFC, and the majority of them did take the 49ers. So most people picked Baltimore 49ers in the Super Bowl, and I'm not even going to say that's still not maybe what it might be, but games like today really make you think like long and hard about whether they can pull off enough wins, and now they went from sort of being in the front row of the seat to get a number one seed. Now their seeding drops. They may not have as many home games. I mean, there's so many implications when you lose this time of year. You can go literally from first class to coach on the flight in 1 week. And, so I don't know what the problem is. I didn't watch the game. I guess maybe you start with Jimmy G's. The big bugaboo with him's been consistency. They're young in the wide receivers. I think I like some of their receivers in Deebo Samuel and Goodwin and other guys they got, and Emmanuel Sanders.
Sure.
But I don't know if they scare you. And running back, I guess you could also say there that they don't. When you don't have one, you don't have the old adage of football is when you don't have a one, you don't have any. And so they sort of got that whole running back by committee. Any given week, it could be Breida, it could be Mostert.
Dude, they had minus Jimmy G today. They had 5 other people running the ball.
Yeah.
5. That's ridiculous. Like, you've got to have more consistency than that.
Yeah. I still like their defense, but like you just said, 5 guys toting the ball, it's just no consistency, and it just shows you they don't got a guy. You know what I mean? They're trying to find a hot hand, and you only got 60 minutes in the game, and not all 60 minutes are on your offensive side of the ball. So you have less than 60 minutes in the game to find that hot hand. So I think it's Jimmy G's inconsistency. It's the lack of a true number one running back and some young receivers. I do still like the defense overall. And let's be honest, I think wherever they make it, whether that's the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship game, it's really going to be more on that defensive side, I think, than the offensive side.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I think Jimmy G definitely does have some issues. Yeah, Tom, I know. And the funny thing, Tom, is when we made our picks on Thursday, that's the game I crossed off, and I was taking the under. So very glad I crossed that one off my list. That would have been brutal. That was definitely a tough one. But I'm right there with you, man. Like, Jimmy G, I mean, you're looking at his stats, not too bad. 22 at 34, 200 yards and a touchdown. But I look at that and I see, first we talked about 5 players rushing the ball. No consistent rushing game. I mean, the how you can't stick with a combination of Breida and Mostert is beyond me. If you really think you need Tevin Coleman, that's fine. But none of these guys are going to get going, and none of these guys are built or a true one, like you said. So you've got to give them time to get that confidence and build that up. And a lot of these guys need touches to make that happen. And I think they're hurting themselves by going to that many running backs in games this late in the season. This is not the time you want to be figuring out who your top 3 running backs are. And that seems to be what they're doing right now. But then I look at the passing game. I mentioned his numbers, that they were great numbers. But 13 catches for George Kittle for 134. Everyone else had 246. Everyone else had 9 combined. You've got to spread the ball around. If teams there is, say, if you can, you can easily shut down the run. You don't have to stack the box against this team. if you can shut down George Kittle on the receiving side, they don't really have much. But I don't know if it's that or if it's Jimmy G just not that great at progressions. I don't know if he's locking on him and just not taking his eyes off him or what, but there's definitely a problem with Jimmy G. And it seems to be the theme of the first part of the show, and I'm going to let you take the next game here and go through it. Maybe we'll swap this up. But when I'm talking about what do you make of the 49ers, I look at a team that started off strong and that has a great record, has stumbled a little bit, but still, I don't really see their identity yet. And we're in week 15.
Yeah, I think it's the running back. If you remember a couple years ago, they had Jerick McKinnon, and he was looking great.
Yes.
He was looking like the next thing in the NFL. He got hurt. Then he got hurt again when he went to Minnesota, I believe, and that's been the end of him. But they've never truthfully replaced the number one back with someone like you just said. When you have 5 guys, you have no guys.
Nothing.
And I know the NFL's a passing league. I get it. I'm not arguing or debating that fact. But you also need to have a running game and those short, 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, even 3rd and 4. And truthfully, the run game sets up those short yardage situations. So they're probably in a lot of, 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 7s. And, when you look at, you mentioned 20-something completions by Jimmy Garoppolo, but only 200 yards. That's 10 yards.
Exactly.
Now, that's not a great ratio.
No.
And when you're not getting a running game going, it looks even worse.
And that's why I'm thinking it's more about progressions. I'm honestly looking at him. I want to watch more film on this, but it's baffling to me being this far in the league and this long in the league, still struggling with it. But every time I see a stat line like that with so many people having receptions, but one person just being overloaded, and then you still end up getting the shit kicked out of you, I always look at that as you're locked on him all day. And the other guys are basically just good, lucky, they're open. Thank God when I look to my left, someone was wide open type of deal. And that's what concerns me with Jimmy G going forward long term.
Yeah, I don't know. I love George Kittle. I think he's one of the best tight ends in the league. So, they got weapons. It's not like the cupboard's bare, and that defense is good enough to win games almost by themselves. Today's the kind of week where you say, man, we're talking about Super Bowl, and then this happens. So, maybe we should cool our jets here.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And it's just an odd one to me. All right, so a lot of games for us to go through, man. I know you got a chance to check some of them out earlier. What game you want to go to next and kind of take a look at?
Well, I watched the Green Bay Chicago game. That wasn't super exciting. Green Bay. I mean, I guess they kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realize Green Bay was 11-3. Matt LaFleur went from maybe he's out of his element in Green Bay, being pushed around by Aaron Rodgers, to potential Coach of the Year candidate. And Aaron Rodgers still not playing great as Pittsburgh just scores a touchdown. Got to add that in there. But Aaron Rodgers, he's not playing Aaron Rodgers type, at least number-wise. No. But listen, I think Aaron Rodgers will tell you, hey, I'll take the 11-3 over like an MVP type season. As egotistical as he might be, he wants another ring. They're right there. I didn't really. They kind of snuck up on me. I kind of just overlooked them and just thought, well, they'll get in the playoffs. They'll lose in the first or second round, and that'll be the end of that. And now here they are, potential number 1 seed with San Francisco.
I know.
Happened one today, and I'm still not. I don't think they're a great team, even as crazy as that says when you're talking about an 11-3 team. And they're another team, Drew, as you was sort of running back. Although Aaron Jones is starting to look like the guy.
He
You
is.
know, and the wide receivers haven't played great. Devontae Adams hasn't had a Devon. He's been hurt in his defense, but he hasn't had a Devontae Adams type year even when he's been
No.
on the field. And so they're sort of winning with smoke and mirrors. It's probably the best Green Bay defense they've had a long time, which I think's a big factor why they're 11-3. This is a team that used to have to win 38, 35 type games riding on Aaron Rodgers' back. Now it don't look like they really have to do that no more. He can just play good, not great, and they can still win. Again, a lot of it depends on who they're playing. They played the Bears
Yeah.
today. Let's keep them on. But they're still 11-3. That means they've won 80% of their games. Quietly, kind of a quiet. Like I never really looked at them, and now you got it. They've thrown their name in the ring. I'm not picking them to go to the Super Bowl,
Good.
but you got to at least talk about them now. They're in the discussion.
Okay. I'm really glad you came to this game because I could not disagree with you more.
That's what this is about.
Exactly. You can at 11-3. That's wonderful. That's great. Wonderful record. Let's. I would like everybody for a few moments, if you got a little time when this show's over, don't leave now. Go take a look at their early season schedule, and you might see a little bit why. Now, when I look at Green Bay, I see a team. I mean, it seems to be a damn theme today. A bunch of smoke and mirrors. Like this Green Bay team, they've got one thing going for them. They're winning because of one thing: Aaron Jones. That's it. A lot of these games would be nothing without Aaron Jones, including today. Had Aaron Jones not had the day he had today, they probably don't make it. And Aaron Rodgers he's one of those quarterbacks that has always, and it's driven me crazy, especially when I have a quarterback when the Panthers have a quarterback like Cam, who nobody freaking in the world likes. But then Aaron Rodgers gets a pass for years and years and years. And I think you're finally seeing now that when he's not surrounded by, I don't know, a Mike Holmgren, an amazing coach, his receivers, like you said, Adams playing up to par, having an amazing game. I think Cobb leaving was something huge they're missing that people don't realize. But I think it exposes a lot of Aaron Rodgers' shortcomings. He's always been a quarterback that if I had to give a list of 2 or 3 quarterbacks I thought got way more credit than they deserved, Aaron Rodgers would be at the top of my list on most of them. Mitch Trubisky jumped them the last year and a half, but Aaron Rodgers' turn, as long as veterans go, I don't see him doing anything this year. Now, when I look at their record, 11-3, yes, impressive. You're going to make it into the playoffs. Anything can happen in the postseason. But I will tell you right now, if they don't have home field, they're going nowhere. I can see them in the playoffs. If you got to go to Foxborough in January, I mean, not Foxborough. If you got to go to Lambeau in January, yeah, that sucks. I get it. You could easily lose that game, especially if you're any team that's not used to playing that type of game. But I think that this is finally where the Packers are actually winning in spite of Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know. I see that 11-3 is a little bit laughable in my eyes, but they've got it, so I've got to give it to them. I can't criticize them for that. They've won the 11, but it's about the ugliest 11-3 I've ever seen. Ever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I got to be honest with you, Drew. Not to be cocky, but I'm a huge football guy. I really didn't. They kind of snuck up. I didn't realize they were 11-3.
Me neither. I laughed when you said that.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were 10-3.
No,
I had them at 8-5, 8-4, and then they went.
That right there tells you everything I'm saying right here.
Yeah.
You sneak into somewhere 11-3, you better damn well hope people are coming to play in 2-degree weather in January. You're getting your ass kicked if you have to go out west. If you have to go down south, it's just how it is. And I mean, if they play any team with a run defense, they're done. Yeah. You shut down Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers cannot beat you by himself anymore. I don't really think he ever could besides a couple of years, but that's just me personally. always thought he was way overrated. But this is going to be an interesting one to me. They're one of those enigma teams to me, but I really think the entire Packers' future, at least the rest of this season, lies on Aaron Jones being able to put up a couple hundred, at least 100 yards and a couple touchdowns a game, or they have no chance.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Their defense is better, which is why Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to have these crazy Aaron Rodgers game. They don't scare me, like you just said. One thing I'm taking out of the year thus far, man, through 15 weeks. I'm curious to get your take on this. Mm-hmm. There really isn't anyone. We could do power rankings, and I know Durkee does his thing.
We'll let Durkee do that, and I'll criticize his.
But really, what is it? There's one team that just looks like a dominant team, and it's Baltimore. I hate to say it, being a Steeler guy. But really, if you take them out of the equation, there really isn't another team. It's not the Patriots, like in some years we normally say. In the NFC, maybe Minnesota. I know you like them. I like them too. They, like you mentioned, they have some of the best depth. They don't have any glaring weak holes or weak spots you can expose. So, but I'm not penciling them or penning them in to the Super Bowl just yet. I wouldn't be shocked if they were. But I mean, really, the only team you can look at right now and say, man, barring some kind of Lamar Jackson injury or something to that effect, they're probably the team to beat.
Hold on for just a second. All right, we're getting I love it. We're getting some good feedback here in the watch party in the longest yard. Okay, first of all, guys, yes, we've already said how bad Green Bay's receiving core is. I know he's throwing to absolute shit. I know they've been decimated with injuries. I know all of that. And I also saw that he's been beating people by himself for multiple years. Yes, he has, but this is the 2019 season. I could care less about 2014, 2013, 26, nothing. I'm talking about this week. That's what this show's about. And I understand everyone's not going to agree with that. But I just don't see. I look at Green Bay. We'll go back to this again. First of all, his receiving core really isn't that bad. And one of the reasons his receiving core is that bad is because a lot of his receivers are having off years. And I'm sorry, but if your receivers are having off years, who's throwing you the ball? Yeah. Your quarterback. Yes, Geronimo Allison, people like that are not your normal want to have number 2s and number 3s. I know they're decimated with injuries. I get that, guys. Totally. But I don't see the same Aaron Rodgers as before. And if we're talking about, which is what this segment is about, which is the playoffs and moving forward the rest of the year, and like I said, unless Aaron Jones is going to be carrying this team, I don't see him winning in the playoffs. But I love the feedback and the comments in here, guys. That's what we want. So thanks for chiming in. That's what we want. And please feel free to call in. I will actually post the link right here in the watch party so you guys can call in as well. But
and something crazy, Drew.
Yeah,
it's going to sound crazy. We might be wrong. I know.
No, of course. Hell, dude, there's a good chance I could be wrong. I'm a freaking Panther fan. I can be wrong. I have no doubt in my mind. If Green Bay comes out and just runs through the postseason and Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP of the Super Bowl, would it surprise me? Yes. Would I fall on the floor from a heart attack? No. He's a talented quarterback. He's one of the strongest arms ever. I just think I think a lot gets overlooked, and he got a lot of credit at times for things that weren't necessarily all him. And I think that's what you're seeing now. That's what I was getting at before. But anyway, just saw that in there, so I wanted to touch on it here on the watch party. But I absolutely love that you guys are commenting and interacting here. That's what we want.
What it's about.
It's what we want. I'm posting the link in here right now, guys. Please click the link and call in and chat with us. Argue with us. Hell, it's what this is about. Come Stephen A. Smith us. Come in here and just start yelling. I don't give a damn, man. Come on. Let's have some fun.
Come on the screen. Drew will put you up next to my video shot. You'll instantly look a lot better. So there's before you even talk about football, it's a win for you. So
Yeah, very true. Yep. Yet Jose. Jose, 46 points against the best defense in the league. All right, man. I got one question about that. Wait, 46 points. You must be talking about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Oh, you're talking about the Saints. Okay. All right. 49ers. All right. All right, let's move on to the next game, man. I actually had a question that I wanted to go over today with you, and I have a feeling this might actually garner some attention as well. And that's moving over to the Browns and the Cardinals game. Cardinals, as we mentioned this week on the pre-show, at least I thought, this was a team that was pretty much packing it in. That this was a team that, we're going to see what they had. I didn't like how everything was going. I thought everything was going tremendously downhill, honestly. But they come out today and they put up this type of performance against Cleveland. Another team that, if you want to talk about underachieving, I don't think there's many teams with this much talent that are underachieving. But what I want to know from you here is looking at these stats. I know he had a good game, at least on the stat line, but does OBJ need to go in Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to bring it up myself. So boom, here we are. He did have a great game today, and actually, he hasn't had a great year. Today, he kind of showed up. Some of that I wonder is because he's trying to play his way onto another team, and he's got to perform.
Yeah.
But let's be
Thank
honest.
you.
Let's be honest. They got to get rid of him, and
have to.
I'm not gonna put him in Antonio Brown's category.
No.
He's sort of a dark cloud. He's sort of a me guy. The whole watch thing at the beginning of the year wouldn't take it off. He's now reported he's playing against people and telling them, hey, come get me onto your team. If I'm one of his teammates and I knew he did that, there'd be trouble in that locker room. And probably have to be separated from him. And I don't think he's a team guy. I think, listen, that guy that talented, the Giants kind of gave him up really for a song and a dance. I think This is who he is. The old leopard don't change their spots. This is who he is, and this is who you get. And I don't know, you know what I mean? If you're a team, who trades for a guy like that? You know what I mean? It's the reason why Antonio Brown's going to have a hard time getting back in the NFL. And he's not as bad on social media as AB is. If you want entertainment, follow AB on social media. You won't understand half of it, and the other half is just laugh out loud, funny, stupid. Yeah. But OBJ, to me, is just proven a guy that's going to be, I don't know if you want to go as far as a cancer in the clubhouse, but, man, pretty darn close. Yeah. Just not, it's not like he's lighting it up and carrying you to victories, and then you got to deal with the garbage that comes along with that.
No, it's actually the opposite. He's actually the opposite this year. He's really not causing that many problems. But the biggest problem he's causing is nothing on the field. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And yes, today he did produce. So this may sound like an odd time to be talking about it, but let's face it. If I'm going to give you a stat line of 8 catches for 66 yards, 8.2 yards a catch with no touchdowns, if I've got to single that game out as one of your best games of the year, and then you scroll up to the top and you realize it's against the 4-9-1 Cardinals, I mean, dude, come on. Like, congratulations for your 8 balls against Arizona and that dominant defense.
And don't forget, Drew, you lost the game by 2 touchdowns. So what did teams do when they're down that much? They just air it out the rest. So some of that's like garbage time stats.
Now, hey, I do like. Let's see, Shikata Saint. I'm not even going to attempt it before I butcher it. Sorry. I do like this one. They've heard OBJ's coming to Green Bay. Well, hell, that's an experiment that I'd like to see.
Well,
That
I just want to see the State Farm commercials with him and
Oh, those would be God. Now I want them to happen. Please. I want them to happen. I could just see RKO out of nowhere somewhere. I don't know. Something's going to happen. I could see it. But to answer my own question, the dude's got to go. And I actually thought this was going to work. I didn't think Cleveland was going to be great by any means. I did not think they were going to run to the AFC Championship game. But I thought that if you put, I do think Freddie Kitchens is a major problem. I think Freddie Kitchens could have been a good coach with almost any other team besides this one. He was someone that was so inexperienced at everything when it comes to do with head coaching, and he's thrown in with this many personalities. Baker, Landry, OBJ, all these guys at once. It's just I didn't like it from the start. But I loved the pairing of OBJ and Landry. I thought them getting back together, if there was anything that could make these two guys say, okay, we're back together. Look what we did in college. Let's go show what we can do on the big stage. That's what I expected to see. And OBJ looks lost. Like, just even on the sidelines, when you looked at him and he said he wanted out, and when you look at his interviews when he came to Cleveland, if you look at the interviews at the beginning of the year, there was this optimism and this good, I don't know, these good vibes in him that he really felt like, and it made me a believer, and I can't stand the dude. Made me a believer that this actually might work.
Yeah.
And then you come to week 15 and it's been an absolute dumpster fire. And you're probably going to have to eat it. You're probably going to have to eat some money, and you're not going to get anything near the return you want for him. But at this point in time, I mean, it's clear as day. If you're going to keep the same infrastructure around him and the same game plan in place, if you plan on keeping that, you have to get him out of here. You have to.
Yeah, they got to get rid of him. You hit it right on the head, though, Drew. They're not going to get much for him. They're probably not going to get what they should, honestly.
No.
They're going to get pennies on the dollar, and no team's going to give them real assets for what might be bringing on a problem onto the ship. So someone will take them, but at a very low value. You know, it's funny when we're talking about the Browns. Me and my son, who's a football kid, he's 19. Had this debate. We did I did my NFL preview show, and I picked the Browns to win this division. I was buying, drinking the Kool-Aid.
Wow.
And how they've played. I mean, I'm glad, I guess, as a Steelers fan, but I'm also shocked. I really thought they were going to turn that corner. I thought they were what a lot of other people were making them out to be. Like you said, I thought they were going to. You know, winning was going to cure some of OBJ's ills. That's some of the problem too. Is I don't think he's a good guy when you're not winning games.
I think he's someone that's all about himself. I think if anything shows you that he's not about truly winning and could give a shit about a Super Bowl ring, but wants his numbers, it's this season. It shows you. He had the opportunity. He had it. And
I was wrong on the Browns. My son predicted them third. He said I'd take them fourth, but the Bengals are still in the division. So, you know, I got to give my son Jordan credit. He had him pegged. And he said Baker's not going to have the same year he had last year. And it's almost like I should have him buy my lottery tickets because I think he got that right when I was all in on the Browns.
Yep. No, absolutely, man. So, all right, well, we'll move on to another game here. And I guess I kind of want to take a little bit. I guess I'll go to it. I didn't really want to cover it today, but damn it, I have to. Seahawks and Panthers, speaking of teams making playoff pushes. Seattle needed this one pretty bad. Ended up winning 30-24 against Carolina. Much, much closer game than I expected. I thought we were going to be the shit whip of the week. I thought it was just going to be that game in general was going to be the shit whipping. So that made me feel a little bit better. But we've all seen Lamar Jackson and everything he's been doing. We were talking about him being, and the Ravens being one of the most dominant, quote unquote, teams around. But I'm looking at Seattle, Russell Wilson again, 20 for 26, 286 and 2 touchdowns. The dude's having a lights out year. It's been incredibly impressive. So I guess my question to you would be this: with everything that's being talked about Lamar Jackson sewing up the MVP after this last performance, does Russell Wilson have enough time to take that from him? And is Russell Wilson still a legit candidate in your mind, going from a voter, putting yourself in a voter's perspective? Do you think Russell can actually win this MVP?
No. I think he had a very solid year, a very good year, probably his best year, but I think it's Lamar Jackson kind of sewed it up with leads the league in touchdowns. He just broke Michael Vick's record for rushing. The team's clinched a playoff spot. They're everybody's pick to make the Super Bowl. As much as it hurts me to say, I think it's Lamar Jackson's MVP. I think if the season, I hate to say it like this, they could almost not play him the last 2 weeks, and he still wins. So I mean, the only way to me, Russell Wilson, he'd have to just have 2 6-touchdown games, 2 or 3 to end the year, and even then, I don't know if he'll be second. You know what I mean? And listen, if it wasn't Lamar Jackson having this year, Russell Wilson would be the MVP. It's not like Russell Wilson's playing very good. He's playing great. He's just up against a guy just dominating the league, changing the game this year. And so it's not Russell Wilson playing bad or not playing great down. He has quieted down a little bit with the touchdown passes, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You talk about Aaron Rodgers being that overhyped guy, and I tend to agree with you. I think we could look at the other side of that coin, underhyped guys. I think Russell Wilson's probably at the top of that list, he does it. This year, maybe he's starting to finally get the credit with the MVP talk. But prior to this year, I don't think people gave him credit for what he means to the Seahawks. And you look at that team, man, look at that team's defenses. Team was known for their defense, the Legion of Boom. Those days are over, and yet here they are, still winning divisions. I do not believe, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, for as good as their record is now, I do not believe they're going to make a ton of noise in the playoffs.
Really?
And I think it's not even going to be Russell Wilson's fault, Drew. I think it's going to be that defense. They get in a lot of these close games, and with all due respect, today I thought it was going to be a blowout. Shout out to your Panthers for making a game of it. And I think some of that's also on Seattle. I don't think they're the type of team that's going to run you out of the gym. I don't think they're capable of doing that. And then when you get in the playoffs and you keep a team around, you can get snake bit. And that's where I see Seattle going. I think someone's going to get them in the playoffs. Russell Wilson will play good, but not good enough. The Seattle defense will let them down, and they'll lose sort of a 30-20, 30-24 type game.
I can see that happening. I can see it happening.
On them.
All right. Well, Mike Russell over in the Longest Yard states that he loves this debate because it's only a matter of time before Lamar goes down to injury. And yes, you're very, very true. Lamar could, but we're talking about, what I could even see, honestly, unless he goes down with an injury in the next 2 weeks. And even if he did, honestly, Russell Wilson might have to put up some incredible numbers not to still give him that MVP. Now for this year. Now, whether we're not talking about who's going to have the longer career, because we could make a whole show out of that. That this is speaking simply on this year's MVP. And I agree with you. And I do agree with you. Speaking on playoffs, that's something that I wanted to go to right now, because you talked about how far you thought that they would be going in the playoffs. Well, what I wanted to do here, since we are getting that close, is we need to take a look at the current playoff picture. With that being said, if this would pop up, there we go. So right now, we're looking at our 2 first-round buys in the AFC being Baltimore and New England, and Seattle and Green Bay being in the NFC. So they'd get the buys, and you guys can see the wild card games right there. When you're looking at this playoff bracket right here, John, 2 games left for each team. Who changes on this board, if any?
Boy, man. I think the NFC, Drew, is really kind of getting settled. Maybe not on the seeds; those might change.
Yeah.
But the teams that are in, I think, are kind of locked in. I think the Rams are done, and they were, to me, the closest one to sneak in and bump someone else out. So, and I'm looking at this. I think the NFC is kind of set. Not so much the seedings yet, obviously, with 2 weeks to go. But I think these teams you see are probably in. It's just what number seeds they finally finalize at. I think the AFC is going to be the one that's still up for debate, if you will. You know, as much as it hurts me to say Pittsburgh's winning right now, they're driving. They have to win today, but they have to win 2 of the 3 next weeks, including this week. And the next week's the Jets, which on paper, I don't want to jinx nothing, should be a W. But the last week is against the Ravens. And that's going to be a tough task. Now, they may sit Lamar Jackson if they're not playing for nothing. That'll be we might catch a break there, but we can't go into that game.
No.
Win. That game's good. And Robert Griffin's no pushover as Hodgers just throws a pick and Buffalo's going to score. It looks no. So Pittsburgh, as the biggest fan as I am, they got to somehow get it done tonight. And they got to get it done next week, and get in. Now, according to your slide right here, they're playing Kansas City, probably in Kansas City, so they're probably not long for the playoffs, at least on paper. But obviously, as a fan, you want them to get in, and anything can kind of happen. Buffalo should be in. They only have to win once out of the next 3 weeks. So I think it's going to be that last wild card with the Steelers and whoever else is right there, in the mix. So I think the AFC is still up. There's teams that are in right now in the AFC that could be out, and I think at the NFC, I think everyone that's in sort of is in.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think the only thing that changes in the NFC, which I moved this down so you can see a couple of teams that are still alive. Yeah, I don't see Philly or LA really, honestly, making it. I actually see Dallas taking this. The one switch I see in the NFC is I see Green Bay dropping down and New Orleans taking that other bye. That would be the one difference that I would see through all of this. And obviously New Orleans got to take care of business tomorrow night in a very tough game that they could easily lose. And if they do, then Green Bay might be able to sew that up. But I see New Orleans moving up where Green Bay is. And then over in the AFC, It's tough right now, and I hate to do this to you, but I'm kind of with you. I don't think the Steelers end up making it in. I'm not a Steelers fan, but I've actually been cheering for him because the job Mike Tomlin's done this year as a coach, the dude deserves Coach of the Year hands down. It's mind blowing to me what this man's been able to do, and I do think, though, unfortunately, that I don't think Pittsburgh ends up making it in. I actually see Tennessee making that jump. I know they struggled and lost the game against Houston today, but I do see Tennessee actually making that jump and taking the 6th spot. Other than that, I think we are pretty much set in the playoffs. But just once again, looking at this playoff picture, even if it does change just a little bit, this is a solid playoffs that we're looking at. This is going to be a playoffs with some fun teams, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the NFC games there, Drew. I mean, how about if the season ended today, like you said, Vikings versus Saints? Talk about a crazy right off the game, first round playoff game. That could be an NFC championship game, except it won't be. Yeah. I think San Fran would beat Dallas. I take the Bills over the Texans if that's the matchup. And, the Steelers in Kansas City, I hate to say it, but I don't know. Pittsburgh's not going to be able to match that scoring with Hodges. So they're probably short order for the playoffs. It would be quite the accomplishment, quite frankly, after a 1-4 start and all the injuries, just to get in. And I think that would be obviously going to try to win every game you play. But I think no one can point the finger at playing Kansas City in the first round and losing with the lineup they put out there and say it was a bad year, So
no, I completely agree with you. And guys, please, as you see at the bottom, call in, let us know out of this list that you see right.
I think we lost Drew.
And
there we are.
We got some technical difficulties. Like I said, we're on vacation, so stuff happens. We're not in the studio. But as I was saying, I do think that we're in for some really fun playoff matches regardless. I do like these quite a bit. But, John, we're moving a little behind today, so I wanted to move on now to one of our favorite segments. Oh, and guys, please call in. Let us know who you think will not make the playoffs. If there's somebody on that list that you saw that you don't think deserves to be in the playoffs or you don't think's going to make it in, call in, give us your opinions, let us know what's up. Anyway, as we move on now, John, it is time to go to one of my favorite segments of the week. I'm pretty sure you know what that is. It is time the shit whip of the week. And this one was actually courtesy of you. And
here's the funny thing about this play. It got penalized, so it actually didn't really happen, but it happened. If I seen it, it happened.
Yeah, right. Well, here we go.
So the hit you're going to see is by Cordarrelle Patterson. And that's a wide receiver hitting someone. Last week one was Ryan.
He's a quarterback. Yeah.
So this week, I don't know if this is a defensive category anymore.
I know.
The past 2 weeks we got a quarterback, and this week that's a wide receiver laying somebody out.
Literally getting some of the biggest hits of the week. It's not like there's tons to choose from. I mean, but this was a beautiful shot. I love this hit. Thought it was great. I was really glad you pointed this out. I love when a returner decides to go down there, not fair catch something, and then just take his knees down. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, this was penalized. I forgot what the call was. The announcing crew said it was pretty much a bad call. The play should have stand. He caused the fumble too here, which the Bears recovered. And I don't know if it wasn't challengeable. It didn't happen. And still the play happened. Anyone that was in that stadium, me at home watching it, saw it. So it wins as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, I love it. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great choice for shit whip of the week. So we'll look at it one more time because I love seeing big hits. But congratulations for the second straight week an offensive player wins the shit whip of the week. I really hope we can make it a third week just because it's fun. But come on, defenders. I know a couple of y'all got to be watching our show.
Well, they changed. I'll stick up for the defense. They've changed some of these rules where you can't hit the quarterback. Yeah. I think, it's hard now to get big hits on defense. We got to wait till interceptions or special teams play.
Apparently. Or until Ryan Tannehill can just throw a pick. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill throws a pick, we're golden.
It'd be a game where he's up by a couple touchdowns, he'll throw one just to lay one out.
Yeah,
Just to lay somebody.
absolutely here. All right, so before we wrap up today, man, we got to go on to, of course, our stock up and stock down. So I will let you kick it off. Who is your stock up of the week?
Well, you gotta, we talk about Philadelphia running backs and how they haven't had one, or that Jordan Howard's not going to be the guy that don't look like. Today, this was the guy. We talked about Josh Jacobs looking really good, and I still think he is very good. The guy I really liked in last year's draft today looked like the guy that could be Philadelphia's future running back.
Yep.
And so that guy's Miles Sanders, another Penn State running back coming following the lead of Saquon Barkley. And Miles Sanders today looked every bit of the part, over 100 yards, catches too. I know it was an ugly win. They kind of had to rally late. But if they can get any kind of running game going in Philadelphia, I think Wentz takes a lot of heat. But if you look at his numbers, he's actually had a very, very solid year.
He has.
So I put some of the blame on the lack of a running game. He's got like practice squad wide receivers right now.
I was about to say, the people earlier complaining about who Aaron Rodgers has to throw to, go cheer for Philly, dude. They got like 15 tight ends. I
think one of the wide receivers they got was a kid I went to school with who didn't play football. He just happens to live. They
called Jude, but I wouldn't sign the waivers. I mean, I get it.
So we bag on Wentz, but he's actually played
a good year.
Well. If Miles Sanders is the back, I think he's capable of, like he showed today. That team, that's one of those teams that people kind of left for dead. If they can beat Dallas coming up here and sneak in the playoffs, they might be one of them wild card teams, like the old Steeler team with Bettis that just come out of kind of nowhere and run the table. And so don't sleep on Philly just yet. I know today they kind of had to rally the troops late, if you will. If they can get any sort of health in that receiving corps and get Jeffrey back and that Zach Ertz is still a weapon and Miles Sanders played like he did today, they're going to be good.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing with Philly right here. I love the pick, first of all. Sanders is awesome. I loved him out of last year's draft, too. Thought he was one of the best backs in the draft. Put Sanders. I mean, if you have to have Howard as your starting running back in Philly for some reason when he comes back, throw Sanders out on the damn slot somewhere. It's better than one of the 80 tight ends you're starting out there. You've got to get the kid the ball. You got to figure out a way to get this kid the ball. I thought you nailed it right on the head. 19 carries, 122 yards, 6.4 yards a carry. That's solid. It's obviously Washington, not the best team in the world, but it's solid. So I'll give it to you. I like that pick a lot. My pick for stock up of the week is somebody that if he was on a different team, I think he'd probably be making this list a lot more. And he's somebody that a couple of years ago I thought would have an incredible career, but a lot of things have happened to the team around him that have caused this not to work out. But that's Joe Mixon. Injuries had a lot to do with it too. But Joe Mixon today, Cincinnati, absolutely nothing to play for besides the Ginger's future there. That's it. That's all they're playing for, is for the Ginger. And you go up against a New England team. You started out good. You had them, I think, in the first half. I know it was 13-3, 13-7. They had them. They had their opportunities, and then New England did what they did, and Cincinnati showed why they're awful. But Joe Mixon against a ridiculously good New England defense, probably the best in the league. 25 carries, 136 yards, 5.4 yards a carry. Kids had a lot of injury problems, but I think if you put him in the right situation, you upgrade the line a little bit, he's finally getting the reps he needs. I think Joe Mixon today showed you what he can do in some big game moments, and I think now he's finally might be turning that corner to where this can be. I mean, this is what I expected on a weekly basis coming out of the draft, and this is what I think he could get back to now. So Joe Mixon's my stock up for the week.
Yeah, good pick there. It's funny you mentioned him. He was on my short list.
Smart list.
Second half of the year has really picked up the pace. He struggled coming out the gate. I mean, he had a couple games where he didn't even crack double digits.
No.
It was pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
I think he even made my stock down one of those weeks.
He did, and that comes a lot from that line. The same reason we said not to start Ryan Finley, because you're putting him behind. It's a no-win situation. Mixon's doing this behind an awful offensive line against a team with incredible pressure. I mean, this was set up for him to have another one of those stock down performances, yet here he puts up those numbers. He, like you said, incredibly inconsistent. I will give you that. You never know what you're going to get with him, and being a DFS nut like myself, I'm terrified of him every week. I never know when to start him, and he's one that I'm going to stay away from until I see that consistency. But what I saw today, if he can end the season with a couple more games like that, I think he could really build the confidence he needs inside, which anyone that watches this show knows how much I believe confidence, especially in young guys, is key in their development. I think a couple of more really strong games end this year out could do wonders for him going into next year. So Mixon, stock up, baby.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's no doubt a number one back. I think he just got off to a slow start. Some of that's the team he's on too. He doesn't have the greatest offensive line in the world, but he's still a guy I have hope for. While I don't root for him being a Steeler guy, I think he's very talented.
Yeah. All right, so now we're gonna go, of course, to stock down. Who you got?
I got to talk about two guys.
Good.
I know we're kind of going with one. I got two guys because they're both. One is they're sort of opposite images to me of each other. I'll mention them both, and then you can throw your what you think in there. Hunter Henry and David Johnson. Today. Hunter Henry, 3 catches, like 20 yards. It's a game which was pass heavy. Phillip Rivers playing from behind. He completed over 30 completions, over 300 yards. So the lack of opportunity wasn't there. And that's a guy that was supposed to be the next big tight end in the NFL. Yeah. He's been injury hurt, if that's the word term. He's been injured every year.
Yeah.
And then he plays, and you think, all right, here he comes, and it just he's never lived up to the billing. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be his career is going to be cut short by injury, and it'll be what could have been. He was supposed to be the next big tight end that never transpired, and not a lot to say there. And then David Johnson today, in the game they scored 38 points, 3 carries for 6 yards. They give it the ball. They made it the Kenyon Drake show. He scored 4 times and had over 100 yards. What are they doing to the guy? If you don't, why even play him? Like, what are those 3 carries? Like, hey, get in. Here you go, just so you can say you played. It's apparently. The Cardinals are moving away from David Johnson. They want to get younger. I still think he's talented. I think he's been misused between injuries and even when he's been healthy. I think he's been misused the last couple of years. I think the Cardinals have basically said, we're through with you while keeping him on the roster. If I'm a team that's in need of a back, here we talked about, San Fran. If I'm saying, I know it's in division, but if I can get David Johnson, at least take a flyer, a guy who can catch the ball and run the ball in his prime. I don't think he's that. I know in running back terms that window is small and short, but but he hasn't been used. So you can almost say the last 2 years he really almost didn't play much. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of tread out compared to his age. And if you can get him fairly cheap, I think he's probably going to be available. I think either Arizona's either going to waive him or move him, but I think they're done with him, and I think they've showed that. And so I don't know if this is so much his fault, Drew, with the stock down, but
Yeah.
this guy was really sort of like an MVP type bet,
Dude.
and I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, I don't know what happened is a perfect thing to say. It just makes absolutely no sense to me what is going on with David Johnson. And it's really funny that you picked him because that was actually the guy I had on my stock down list. So your 2 was mine. And the funniest thing you just said to me was they want to get younger. David Johnson's not old.
No.
He's not old. Kenyon Drake's just as freaking old. Maybe what, 1 year difference? David Johnson, in my opinion, has at least pre-injury, maybe he's this bad post-injury, or maybe he's just never gotten back to being fully healthy. I don't know what it is. But I don't know. Something's off. Something's wrong. And I don't know if it's the scenery. I don't know if he's in Arians or not Arians. I don't know if he's in their doghouse or what it is. I don't understand it whatsoever. But David Johnson's become an incredible disappointment. And honestly, like you said, he needs to get out of Arizona. I still personally think he could end up being one of the best running backs in the league if he's put in the right situation. But I don't think the situation's there right in Arizona. I think they wanted to build the team around him. And then they drafted Kyler Murray once all the injury stuff started. Then when they were forced to put Kyler Murray in because they had no other choice and he started to actually play, I think they said, okay, you know what? Forget it. We're moving on. Let's go with David Johnson. Let's get away from David Johnson. Let's build a team around Kyler Murray, which you would think you would want a guy like David Johnson around with Kyler Murray, which is what baffles me so much, which is why I don't know if it's a medical issue. I don't know what it is, but I'm right there with you. He was the number one. He was highlighted on my list, and I really didn't have a number 2 besides Tannehill because he screwed up all my bets this week, but he actually threw a good game, so I couldn't put him on there. But David Johnson, I've got to go with you. It's shocking to see what's going on.
I think with DJ, just kind of put a bow on it, I think you touched on it. I think Cliff Kingsbury just doesn't like him. He's in that doghouse. I know Kingsbury's kind of a numbers guy, likes the 40 time and all the he's like kind of a combined number guy, falls in love with numbers. I don't think David Johnson is hitting those numbers as he was when he was younger, whether it be with injuries. And I think Kingsbury pretty much wrote him off.
Yeah, and it's tape. I mean, you got to adjust, and it comes. Coaches have to adjust too, not only the player. Once teams have the film on what the player does, you always see a player struggle, but that's up to the coach to start utilizing him in ways that gives him a chance to use those skills that made him so good in the first place. And that's what I don't see happening here. So I really think it's a combination of not being a right fit, coaching, and possibly maybe some lingering issues. But I hope for his sake he does get out of Arizona, because I do think, the dude ain't old. I know he's a little injury old compared to other people his age, but modern medicine does some pretty amazing thing. AP's still trucking. So I think Johnson can be just fine, but he needs new scenery. So he was my number 1 on stock down too. So completely agree with you. And Todd, I completely agree with your comment right here. For being the last game in Oakland today, that was definitely a tough game playing the Jaguars. This will be one of the last games we cover, John, before we wrap up today. Yeah. But Oakland, obviously, it's so weird saying this, but the Oakland Raiders in a couple of weeks are going to be no more. And obviously moving out to Vegas, that was a tough tough game to lose and a tough performance to put up, especially against a Jacksonville team that, like I said, is in all sorts of a mess right now.
I think I took them in our pick segment. I can't remember 100%. Pretty sure, or at least I either took them or they were right on the cusp. And we were talking about the Raiders earlier this year. They were moving in the right direction, and it seems like now they've sort of kind of regressed a little bit. I guess you could argue whether Derek Carr's the guy that John Gruden really wants to go in the battle with, so to speak, or is he?
I took the Raiders and you didn't, so you're welcome.
I almost did. Don't feel bad. I would have took them if I had to make a pick between the two teams. I would have took them. So surprised by the outcome today. Surprised, like you said, at home. Surprised, we thought they were going to move in the right direction. It's sort of like they ran out of gas here, and so we'll see. Josh Jacobs has been having a great year. It's not the running back issue.
No,
receivers, they got to upgrade their receiving core.
Absolutely.
So some of it's not all on Derek Carr, but.
Now, one thing I do want to touch on, this is a follow-up to you guys that watched the Thursday show also. I mentioned this game, and I talked about how concerned I was that with Jacksonville, since when they ripped Minshew out in the middle of his incredible role, threw Foles back in, and then Foles did awful. They ripped Foles out, throw Minshew back in. I talked about how worried I was on how he would handle that and how he would respond. Well, 17 of 29 for 201, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Solid. I think Minshew did one thing today. I think he proved he deserves a chance at a starting job next year, whether it be Jacksonville, somewhere else. When you get pulled in the middle of a hot streak like that as a rookie, that would kill 9 out of 10 people. Would kill them. They would never come back the same being pulled like that. Going back in, putting that type of performance, if there's one person I was most impressed with, just following up from Thursday's show, which, I mean, that's what I was most concerned about this week, was how Minshew would perform. Well, the ex-ECU Pirate did excellent. So good job, Minshew. But sorry, Oakland fans, that definitely was one hell of a tough way to go out of Oakland.
Yeah, I like Minshew. I think they got something to build on. I'm not saying he's going to be the long-term answer. I think the real question is how do you handle Foles here? Do you try to move him in that big contract? Do you cut him and eat some of that? And there's a chance they have a new coach and Doug Marrone gets let go, and so the new coach is going to have a lot of decisions on his plate to make. And so Jacksonville is going to be a real interesting place to look at in the offseason. I know they're not making the playoffs, but they do have some pieces in place. They got some wide receivers that are young and up and coming in Westbrook and DJ Chark.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So I think Marrone's going to be gone. I think you're going to see a new guy with the headset on the sideline. And that guy's, we'll see what quarterback-wise, what direction does the new guy?
Well, hell, as much as Tony Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, loves wrestling, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cody Rhodes or somebody come step out and take snaps next year. I mean, who knows? I think he's paying more attention to a show on TNT than the football season this year. But who knows? But all right, guys. Well, we got a little bit of time left in John, your game right now, a little under 8 minutes left. Buffalo up 17-10. And then tomorrow night, game with major playoff implications. You got New Orleans and Indy. Playoff implications on both sides. New Orleans, it's really a must-win to keep up with that chance for that bye. And Indy, it's really their last chance. If they don't win this game, I think you can pretty much count them right out of the playoffs. So 2 very big games coming up, John. And we're here at the nitty-gritty time, man. We got 2 weeks left before the postseason starts. This is when it starts to get fun.
This is This is where they say you separate the women from the boys, or however that saying goes. But again, seeding gets to almost every game has some sort of implication.
Yeah.
With the exception. Well, you know what? Even the Miami Cincinnati game next week probably has some draft
Yeah,
implications.
where does Joe Burrow get buried at? Yeah. Where
So
should we
even
host
even
his funeral? South Florida or Ohio, you mean? Jesus.
So even the games that on paper you don't think are nothing have
Yeah.
some sort of
Yeah.
implication. So it's the time of year where no matter what game, there's something you can look at it and take from it and meaning. I think you looked at this week, like you started the show off. Some of the surprises, we can't say people are starting to arrest people yet. That usually doesn't
No.
happen to either next week or the last week.
And
So
they've done a good job of making that not work as well. Because if you look at the schedule, a lot of these games, I loved when they moved a couple of years back. They moved the division games to the end of
yeah,
the year to where it means so much more. I don't think you're going to see many people sit, especially with like we showed with how many teams are in the hunt. I mean, in the AFC, there's still after this week, there's still 6 teams alive. For a couple of spots. NFC 2 or 3. But I hope we don't see too much resting. But this is when you start to see a lot of really really fun games, and it's getting into the nitty gritty. That's for sure.
yeah, no doubt, and that's fun. Every week's fun, and then you get to the games, like you said, Drew. The games this time of year sort of have a playoff feel to them before the playoffs
Yep,
because people are playing for their playoff lives, and it has that playoff atmosphere.
exactly. Well, y'all, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Roughing the Passer. I will be back from Tampa back into the well, actually, on Thursday's show, we'll be doing Thursday's picks and preview show. I'll be here in Tampa. Then I'll be back next week's show for down in Florida or in North Carolina at the home studio. But thank you guys, as always, for joining us. And make sure to check out both mine and Mr. Newman's podcast this week. I'll let John tell you a little bit about Sports Card Nation because there's a great interview on his this week.
Yeah, this week, well, we had Brian Gray last week. That's on pace. It's early yet, but maybe be one of our highest listened to show.
Yeah. Excellent interview.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, and I credit to him too. He didn't. I don't have anyone on that's going to tell me what to ask, and he agreed to that. And so I asked him some questions that need to be asked. He answered them. This week we have another good guest, Chris Stuber from Baseball Card Daily and Card Stock. And we're going to talk about, a thing we talked about on our own shows and each other's shows, the term investing in sports cards. And, I figured, man, no better guy when he puts up a lot of his he does a thing called Card Stock where he illustrates some up-and-coming guys and their cards and the values and sort of like a stock market type of deal. I asked him, does he believe you can invest in cards? And so he answers that question along with a lot of other things. He comes from a sports aspect too. That's a nice thing. He was in the scouting department for the NFL and the draft, and in the Arena Football League. He was in the administrative area there. So he comes from both sides of the aisles, being involved directly in sports and now on the card side. And I love guys like that.
Absolutely. So, guys, make sure you check out, like I said, the interview with Brian Gray is excellent. And then also his upcoming episode on Friday. And we just dropped, let me get that potograph, our little vacation episode, if you will, today. With the interview with Jason Dean Martin on it, guys, where if you are card collectors, it's quite interesting. Found some pretty ridiculous stuff that I actually just had a phone conversation with Brian Gray about 30 minutes ago, right before we got on the air, about 30 minutes before we came on the air, that clarified some stuff I talked about on my show this week a little bit more as well. But definitely go check out Sports Card Nation podcast, as well as let me get that potograph. And hope you guys enjoy watching the rest of this week's slate of games, and hopefully we see you Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see ya.
Peace. As soon as I can get us out of here.